Hi guys, welcome to the Break the Chain podcast. I'm here today with Alex from the legendary Wonk Unit. Thanks for coming on the show today, mate.
Thank you, James.
You know, when I first heard about Wonk Unit, I think it was on a Boomtown flyer, and I saw them and I was like, mate, I bet they love Ket.
Yeah.
And I was just like, first time I actually heard about you as a person was on the wonderful Tim Holhouse's interview that he was doing for
Right.
mental health for
Yeah.
Brain Aid and IMP. And I listened to your interview and I was intrigued.
Yeah. I wasn't that impressed with my interview on that. I think I wasn't in a very good mood at the time, and I thought I was a bit boring. So maybe we can do better this time.
Well, I thought it was great.
I'm very happy.
To the point where I actually took the effort to reach out and be like, I want to speak to that bloke. And
Good.
I think one of the reasons why is because you don't love Ket and you've been in recovery for 21 years. And I was kind of like, for someone that's in the punk scene to be free from drugs and alcohol, it's massive, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it's just mental. I don't, for me, like, I was speaking to you earlier, I went to New Zealand. You know what I mean? I was just like, fuck that, I've got to get out of here. And you're like still in the scene, still gigging, still doing music and that. And, I'm fascinated. And, I was wondering if you could tell us your story.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, where do we start? Like, this is just about addiction, right? And all that business. So my story of recovery and addiction, I suppose. So, all right. So growing up, I can't remember being happy. Do you know what I mean? I had a nice upbringing, it was all good, nice folks and all that. I don't ever remember being happy as a child or anything like that. And then about sort of 11, 12 years old, I drank a can of Gold Label lager and up the park. And suddenly it was the answer to all of my problems. This little disgusting can of lager, I drank it. And suddenly I was like, wow, I'm not scared of girls now. I'm not scared of having a fight. Oh, wow, I'm full of confidence. So alcohol became like the magic potion for everything. And from there on, I never really stopped. And I can remember sort of, we'd be drinking at the park on a Friday night, and on a Saturday morning, I'd be knocking on my mates' doors with 8 cans of Stella, and I'll be like, come on, let's keep going. And they're like, what? And they couldn't understand, and I couldn't understand why they wouldn't keep going. So anyway, so I started drinking around that age, and I didn't stop. I knew I was an alcoholic at 15. Like, my mum would come downstairs, in the mornings, and there would be me passed out on the living room floor, unconscious, and she would sort of like, wake me up for school. Do you know what I mean? And I'd offer go to school. And it became a problem. It manifested itself as a problem when I was about 18. That was when I first was like, you know what, I need to sort of stop. So then I began, the old classic one was, I'll only drink at weekends. But obviously that never happens. Do you know what I mean? So, alcohol, because it's, addiction in general, as an illness, it's a progressive illness. Do you understand the sort of mechanics of addiction, James?
Well, yeah, I'm an addict, so I kind of, I mean, one of the things that you said in that interview with Tim, and it was just like, pow, and it's just like the nature, the addictive and progressive nature of addiction, and then how it, like, when you fall off the wagon and and you actually, it's just you fall all the way to the bottom of the hole immediately, don't you?
Yeah, so that's how it works. So on your journey of addiction, the progressive nature of it, so you'll never just stay on a stable path of addiction. It will gradually get worse. If you was to graph your journey of addiction, it gradually gets worse. And that's in the functioning state, the functioning journey of addiction. But what happens is, at some stage for everyone, you go from a functioning addict to suddenly a chronic addict, and that's when it suddenly spirals very, very fast. And that's when shit hits the fan. So you can be a functioning addict for many years, you know, keeping it together, gradually getting worse and worse and worse, but then it will inevitably hit the chronic stages, and that's when suddenly you lose your job, you lose your family, you become violent, you start thieving, blah blah blah, you start getting hit by cars, you know, you end up in prison, blah blah blah. And then the chronic stages of addiction go do 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 do, and you die, or you hit rock bottom and you get well. And you only get well, you know, you have to hit rock bottom to get well. Some people's rock bottom is too far, you know, and unfortunately they don't ever make it, you know. But yeah, so I got well at 27. So at 27, you know, after years and years of fucking up, I ended up. So I had a cocaine and alcohol addiction, basically, and I ended up bursting a artery between my heart and my lungs, and basically being told I was about to drop dead, blah blah blah. But that didn't actually stop me from getting sober. It was just a particularly horrible chain of events that led to me being hospitalized, blah blah blah. And when I woke up in hospital, I was in the cardiothoracic ward at St Thomas's, and next to me there was people with their chests split open from heart and lung transplants and all that sort of stuff. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and there's all the monitors going on in this room, and I felt like such a fraud. You know what I mean? So they patched me up. I got 5 stents in me off my heart to hold this artery together, because I'd burst this artery. But I remember just thinking, what a fucking fraud I am. There's genuinely ill people in here, and there's me. I've done it all to myself. And it was the first time I'd been sober in about a decade, you know, because I'd had to sober me up in hospital to do the surgery and all that shit. So that was my essentially, I came round, I was like, that's it. I've been sober ever since. I'm kind of losing track where I'm going. Yeah, so that was that was 2nd of August, 1999. And yeah, and I've been sober ever since. And then I began my journey of recovery. I was lucky enough I was 3 weeks sober, and I knew that time I'd tried to be, you know, get sober in the past, and I'd managed maybe a day or something like that. But I really knew, you know, I really had hit rock bottom that time. And it wasn't the surgery. It wasn't being told I'm about to drop dead, because I didn't care if I lived or died. I really didn't. But it was just because, you know, I was a violent thief. You know, I was robbing, I was doing over off licenses. I was completely lawless. And it was a strange place to be. You know, I just didn't care if I lived or died. I had no morals. You know, addiction, it corrupts the soul, you know, and it just kills you. Do you know what I mean? It corrupts the soul. And I was just this dead husk of a human being. And coming out of that surgery and being sober for the first time in such a long time, I was like, this ain't me. You know, I'm not this person. And so, yeah, I got sober. And so I was 3 weeks sober on my own. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to doctors and tell them I'm sober, see what they could do. And this was when Labour were in, and there was more money, you know, to in the NHS then. And I was lucky enough, they put me in a Priory clinic for a month, and I did an addiction treatment program where I learned everything there is to know about addiction, like the mechanics of addiction and stuff like that. And after that month of intensive, you know, learning, I came out and I was like, well, you know, I've got all the tools now to stay sober. You know, if I do pick up again, that makes me a fucking idiot. You know, and I'm not an idiot, you know. And it was just like I knew, yeah, it was, you know, addiction. It follows patterns, you know. We're all the same, you know. Addicts, we think our condition is so unique, you know. We're like the lone soldiers fighting in our path, you know. It's only us, but you know, addiction follows patterns, you know. And with that knowledge I learned from, you know, the month in the Priory, I came out and I was like, yeah, all right. And so I was sober, and I've been sober ever since. And it's been the happiest time of my life. You know, I'm happy. I have been happy, and I'm not going to lie. You know, like one of the biggest things that addicts face when they get sober is, you know, it's really, really hard, and you know, life without booze is inconceivable to you at the start of your journey. So that's why they say, you know, the cliched day at a time thing. But that really works. You're not thinking about the long term. You know, it's just day at a time, day at a time. And so what happens in recovery, certainly with me, is your brains are really, we're good. Yeah, the brain is fucking amazing. Like, we're so fickle as humans, yeah. And what kind of essentially happens is you're suffering, yeah. You know, you're suffering. You're fixating on booze. You're fixating on your drug of choice. But the longer you go without it, you just start to forget that you're suffering. You know, we don't change. We're never healed. We're never fixed. You know, I'll always be an addict. But you kind of like being sober, you just start to sober becomes the new norm. And people say to me, oh, how long is it going to be before I'm recovered and well? And it's just like, it's not fast, you know, and it's really irresponsible to put a date on it. But, you know, from 1 to 3 years, you know, if you stay kind of sober for that long, your body, your brain, you just forget that you're suffering. And then you're sober and your peers change. You know, all our peers in our life are pretty much a reflection of ourselves, that we hold up a mirror. So when we start our journey of recovery, all our friends are addicts. You know, they're all drunks, they're all fucking lunatics and stuff like that. But then in our journey, because we can't be around those people anymore because it's the most boring thing in the world. And so you have to, you know, the biggest thing in your life has been removed, booze or cocaine and stuff like that. And you've got a huge hole in your life and you have to work. You have to do something. So you start filling that hole with new things, like creative things, for example, my songwriting and stuff like that. So you start on this new path and you start this new life. And then on your journey in recovery, you start meeting people. As you get better, the people you meet are in the same boat. So suddenly our peers are a reflection of ourselves. So suddenly you meet, you know, people in the same boat as you know, artistically or whatever. And yeah, it's just an amazing thing. I'm waffling a little bit. It's quite early in the morning at the moment. But yeah, like you keep moving, life just improves. It just gets better and better and better. And, you know, there's always going to be shit. Shit's always going to hit the fan. But as someone in recovery, you're able to deal with those things in the best way possible, you know, and your chance of a good life, being in recovery and being sober, you're going to get the best life that the universe has mapped out for you. Throw some questions out at me because I know I'm waffling a bit. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's an amazing story. It's interesting to, you know, just like talking about rock bottom and some people don't make it. And that's something that really disturbs me. I mean, my friends, and I'm sure you're in the same kind of circles where people just kill themselves like one a year.
Yeah.
For me, just, you know what I mean? And they've just been dropping off the whole time. And that I find that just not all right. For me, it's like I want to try and help people to, you know, throw out seeds and water and see whether they stick, you know, and I mean, have you found anything that's kind of, for anyone who is in that situation and they don't want to be in that situation, what would your advice, or Obviously,
Like,
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of people who are in that situation. They don't want to be in that situation, but it's kind of like how they're just like,
yeah, well,
you know what I mean? It's like how do you do the impossible? You know?
Yeah. So I mean, the denial is such a huge thing. You know, we all go through the denial stages of addiction, and you know that rock bottom scenario. You know, some people think they've hit rock bottom, and then they relapse and blah blah blah, and it obviously wasn't their rock bottom. Do you know what I mean? I think when people do truly get on the wagon and they are successful on the wagon and they have a successful recovery, that is because they truly have hit rock bottom. You know, and unfortunately, people's rock bottoms are low and low. You know, and life can become so bad, and a lot of people, you know, will die through their rock bottom. And actually, about 99% of addicts, alcoholics, will die of an alcohol-related illness or injury. So statistically, you know, it ain't good for us. Do you know what I mean? As I say, alcoholic, you know, I'm always going to be an alcoholic. I'm always going to be an addict. So I'm only, you know, one drink away from absolute fucking oblivion. But the longer you're sober, also, like, I think mentally, you realize you've got so much to lose because life improves so dramatically. You know, the longer you're sober, it kind of arms you with that knowledge, and you're less likely to relapse the longer that you're sober, because why would you throw away the improvements you've made in your life? But you're just, when you have to put your recovery has to come first over everything. That's what a lot people who are in recovery and new to recovery, your recovery comes first over everything, because everything hinges on that. So, you know, people will be like, oh, you know, I've got my job, I need to do this job, I need my girlfriend, you know, she's got this and this, blah, 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 that, you know, I need to do that. And it's actually, no, you know, your recovery has to come first. You have to be almost selfish in your recovery at the start, because, you know, if, you know, you have to put it first, because if you relapse, it's all gone to shit anyway, you know? So you put your recovery first, you work for it, you explore the avenues that are out there. You know, there's things like AA. It's always worth going to AA just to meet other addicts, because we look after each other, you know, because you know, my life is brilliant. You know, I love being sober. You know, my life's great, and the benefits of it. And so we do, it's a big gang. Everyone in recovery, we look after each other because we know how good life can be, you know. So I would definitely, I'm not personally, I can't stand going to AA. But, you know, for me, if I might go to an AA meeting once every 5 years, and generally that'd be because I'm taking someone new on the wagon to a meeting. But it's the working for it. So I'll go to an AA meeting, I'll twitch and I'll fucking twiddle my thumbs for an hour of boring misery. But on the way home from the meeting, I'm like, thank fuck I got out of that. But it was the fact that I've worked for my recovery. I've sat there, I've gone through this boring misery. You know, but those tools, you know, work for your recovery, you know, and those are the things you put in the effort, and the more effort you put in, the less likely you're going to throw it away, you know?
I guess it depends who's running the groups as well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think you can't just go to one and presume they're all kind of like that. I mean, I've not done AA or NA, but I know, you know, when you're in the scene, you kind of, you know, it becomes the new scene, doesn't it? You meet all the people who have done all the different programs, and some people love it, you know?
Yeah. And it is brilliant. And also because, you know, the early days of recovery are a lonely time, because you will lose all your friends. You know, you might, you know, you'll think you'll go to the pub. You know, you shouldn't set foot near a pub for at least a fucking year of your recovery. But, you know, we all make that mistake and think, oh, I'm going to go to the pub and I'm going to see my mates. And you're sitting there with your Coca-Cola or your bottle of water, and you're listening to the most inane, boring drivel you've ever heard. And you're thinking, is this what I've been missing? But you realise that, the pub and your old life and your old mates aren't what you're about anymore. And that can be quite a lonely sort of, that can be lonely, you know what I mean? So you go away and you're like, oh man. So that's where, AA and those sort of groups are good, because, from a social aspect, you will meet people. And actually, if you've just hit rock bottom, your recovery is, you're sober, you're new, you're frail, you're like a baby deer, you're a broken human being. You've got to learn it, learn to live again. So, that support from groups like that, it's well worth doing, because I don't know if I spoke on Tim's interview about, our emotional maturity. Did I talk about that?
Yeah, you did a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, when we first pick up our poison at whatever age, and it's usually early teens. So for me, whatever it was, 12 years old, whatever. So the moment we pick up a drink or a smoke or whatever it is you have a problem with, it's the answer to our problems. So what happens is you stop maturing emotionally, because, you have a drink and suddenly that fixes your problem. So if you're unhappy, you have a drink, all is good. If you're really happy, you have a drink, all is good. If you're angry, you have a drink, that fixes me. So you stop maturing emotionally, because the drink becomes, your emotions and stuff. And whereas normal people, they grow up emotionally, they grow up and they learn to deal with situations normally, you don't. So an addict will stay the same age he is the moment he picks up a drink, like emotionally. And that's why, when you get people that they get sober in their 30s or 40s and they're so crap at life, dealing with things, jealousy issues, money issues, security issues, relationships, work and stuff, because essentially we're children still. We don't have the emotional maturity to deal with stuff. And what happens then in your recovery is you start growing, a year into your recovery, say for example, if you first picked up your drink at 15, as a 35-year-old person, a year in recovery, you'll then have the emotional maturity of a 16-year-old. You're still a child, you feel vulnerable, but every year that you're sober, you start to just mature, you grow up. Emotionally, you grow up.
As well.
Yeah,
really fast. Well, you're so far behind and you look at everyone else around you and you're going, I can't use a washing machine and I can't, manage anything, my money, I can't cook and all these things. And you're seeing everyone else, you feel a little bit behind and you make usually, I know I did, I really tried to make up for it.
Yeah, it's very much sink or swim, but you also start to see as well in your old friends, the mistakes these people are making constantly because of their poison. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you watch people getting into fights and whatever, fucking up relationships. And to you, it's like, well, I can see that happening. You grow up, you do grow up. And because you're growing up, you start behaving like an adult. And with these new tools of being a grown up, you deal with situations. It's so nice not to wake up in the morning like, oh my God, because it's like you wake up every day and the guilt of what the fuck have I done? It's great to wake up guilt-free. That's a huge thing for everyone in recovery. There's such a lot of guilt, with people who are, of addicts, we feel guilt all the time, and that's why we kind of do pick up again and again to bury our guilt, don't we? We can't face the shit we're causing, so we drink, or as you say, cat. Do you know what I mean? But we do it to bury those feelings, don't we? So
there's almost no better feeling than taking up that responsibility and, you know, seeking to amend some of those things that you have done.
Yeah.
And I found through not just recovery, but obviously that's just a part of it, but like, I guess it is a part of recovery. I've kind of got no enemies anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when you're younger, you have all these enemies and you have all this drama, and now it's like, well, I had all these enemies, and I had one of them on the podcast like a little while ago. It was like proper enemy and that, and then he came on the podcast as like friend, and it's like you just don't, you just smashes down all that nonsense. You know, it's crap, isn't it?
Yeah, life just becomes so much easier. There's just no, you know, the drama is removed from your life. It's brilliant. I mean, they used to know me in Bromley A&E. I was in A&E every weekend, you know, with different broken bones, different cuts. You know, I'd go into Bromley A&E on a Friday or Saturday night, or I'd be taken to Bromley A&E, more like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, you know, what have you done this time, Alex? They knew me by my fucking first name, you know, and the bullshit we just, you know, we get ourselves into. And it's just wonderful to just be free. You know what I mean? It really is. It's the best.
Something you was talking about in that interview, and you spoke about it a little bit earlier, you know, and that's happiness. You're saying, I don't think I was ever happy as a kid, and I can, everything, you know, it's like you were saying, everything, there was a lot of excitement, and there was a lot of, you know, it's fast and stuff's happening, and it's a lot of laughs and that, but when you actually really asked, like inside, was there that kind of happiness? And it's like, something, you know, one of my teachers has said to me is, it's like, you can't, like, unless you have peace, you can't have happiness. Those two things kind of go together.
Yeah.
And I know for fucking sure, when you're an addict, you've given your peace away. You know, as soon as you've taken those chemicals, then you've turned yourself into a vehicle that requires the fuel. It's gonna be poking you 24 hours a day. It's like poke. You ain't getting no peace when you got to keep putting fuel in the car. You know, so it's
I remember a good few years into my recovery, walking down the street in Muswell Hill, and I can remember this just so spot on. Walking down this street, and this feeling came over me, and I was like, whoa, and I had to stop. And I was like, what's this feeling? And I realised I was happy. And it floored me. I was like, oh my God. You know, is this what happiness feels like? It was really like, you know, it was one of those moments, you know what I mean? But that was true, man. It was crazy. I was like, wow, I'm happy. I'm just happy, not for any reason. Yeah. You know, I'm not happy because I've written a new song or, you know, I was just happy for no reason. And that was amazing because, you know, really, up until that moment, I'd never been happy,
I remember where I was stood when that happened to me. I was in Wellington. I think I just left the Hare Krishna temple in Wellington. I was walking down the street and then I just had this thing and I had this, my grin went like that. And it was like that and it's like that. And I was walking, I was like, what the fuck are my sides of my mouth are going up towards my ears? And I was like, this is weird. It's like trying to get them down. It's just like, I can't help it. And I was just like, this thing was just like, I was just wearing this thing on my face, this smile. I was wearing it, you know. I was like, I can't even get rid of this thing. I've been staring at my best mate as well because we had all this drama go down and he tried to kill himself and like I had to restrain him and stop him doing it. And there's all this drama. And we managed to get his parents to be like, let him leave, you know, a situation because they were like hanging on to him, worried that if he left that he would like, it would be worse because they couldn't even do anything about it. But anyway, managed to let him go away and took him away in that. And I remember staring him in the eyes when that happened to him. Like I was looking straight at him and he just looks at me, he goes, fuck, I'm happy. And he just started screaming. He's like, yes! Like, it's such a believable fit. Like, honestly, to witness that is just, yeah, man, it's so good.
It's just, you know, my whole life now is, you know, I'm a 48-year-old bricklayer, plasterer, yeah? And it's just, I mean, I've always done my own thing, you know. I've just always just done my own thing. And I'm lucky to have that focus, you know, BMXing or skateboarding and then music. But I've been lucky. But, you know, as a 48-year-old man after doing 20 years on the tools, and suddenly I find myself traveling the world my job now is making music and drawing stupid pictures and putting them on T-shirts and selling merch. And it's just like, fucking, you know, that's incredible. Yeah. You know, and that's purely, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be alive now 100% if I hadn't got sober. You know, but it's just, you know, the opportunities sobriety gives you, because, you know, it just will give you whatever the universe has in store for you. Being sober, you know, gives you the potential to get the very best out of what's in store for you, you know, and it's just amazing. You know, I didn't set out to become a professional musician. You know, I make music, I sing songs because that's what I do. Like I skateboard, you know, I skateboard because I love it, and I write music because I love it, and I perform it. And it's just, but, you know, through my recovery and stuff, you know, and doing this, and it's nice because I had no rush to get where I am. Being sober just creates this inner peace in you, you know, and it's just like, you know, I'm happy. There's no rush. I just do my thing. And yeah, so now I'm a 48-year-old man that I'm a professional musician. And it's just like, that's incredible. If you'd asked a 27-year-old Alex, what are you going to be doing in 21 years? You know, that's just not, that's inconceivable, you know?
When you're 27 as well, you're thinking like, when you're 50, it's over, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I was thinking about that last night. I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm 50 next year. And now I was like, I have lived 50 years on this earth. That's mental.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't look 50. I mean, look at me. I'm beautiful, you know? Yeah, it's mental. But yeah, so, I mean, you know, recovery is the most important thing in my life, you know, and to people in recovery, it has to be number one priority.
I'm curious, because you said that this, you know, you did like basically a government program. Was that like, were they like affiliating with non-government organisations? I mean, what did this program look like? What?
So it was in a Priory clinic, which is like a posh private clinic, you know, but this was in the days when the NHS was better funded. And so you got NHS patients in this Priory clinic, and it was an addiction treatment program. It was a month-long rehab, everything to do about addiction. So it just taught me about addiction, you know, the mechanics of addiction, you know, and apparently that actual course I was on, it was the Hayes Grove Priory down in Keston in Kent, and they actually had the highest success rate for people in recovery in the whole of Europe, which was, I was just very, very lucky to get that, you know. I mean, it was just a lot of work, you know. It was just every day you're in class and talk, you know, learning the mechanics of addiction, and, you know.
What do you think the best things that they taught you were?
I mean, you learn very quickly, you know, you're always going to be an addict, you know. I mean, for me, the big things that got to me, which really blew me away, was the whole emotional maturity thing, how you stop aging. That was like, wow, that's super interesting. When you suddenly put that into practice, it's like, oh yeah, I am a child still, you know. That was a big thing. You know, the progressive illness of addiction, knowing that it will always get worse, you know, and then you think about it, you know, how, you know, those early days when you think, oh, I'm drinking too much, I'm going to stop drinking. And then it's like, I'm just going to drink at weekends. And then come Tuesday, you're already back on it. You know, all those things that you every alcoholic thinks about and goes through. Suddenly learning, you know, and also, as I say, when we think, before we've actually explored recovery as ourselves, we think our condition is so unique to us. We think we're special. We think no one understands it, you know, and then you soon realise that there's symptoms, you know, that every addict, you know, the symptoms of addiction, you know, just like having the flu, you're achy and stuff. And the symptoms of addiction are, you know, you're a fucking self-indulgent wanker, basically. and we think that the world, you know, we think the world owes us something. We think our condition is unique, you know.
I think that's the thing with addiction, isn't it? Like, your priority in life is to feel good.
Yeah.
And nothing else, and that's number one. And like, as soon as that doesn't start happening, everything else gets put to the side.
Yeah. I really love the fact, though, that, you know, when we are in recovery, you know, it's really nice that we you know, alcohol, you know, it was alcohol for me, you know, it was so everything was alcohol, you know, just to function and to be happy, to whatever. And now just to be happy just because of me, we learn to love ourselves. That's the thing, you know, that I think that's the biggest thing. People in recovery, you know, in your recovery, we learn to love ourselves. And I think that's like such a big thing. You know, I love myself. I think I'm the shit. And I think you get a lot of people who aren't in recovery or jaded people and stuff, you know, they can almost resent. In fact, you do. When you're getting recovery, you get a lot of friends that will resent you for being in recovery. But it's nice. That's a good thing. You know, we learn to love ourselves. And I think when we love ourselves, you know, you start realizing your worth. And because you realize your worth, you then, you know, you realize things are possible, you know, and you can start doing things. Yeah, it's just amazing. That's, you know, we're all right humans, aren't we? You know,
I think one of the things that happened for me is when I stopped, I stopped thinking about me and myself and who, and you know, and whether I'm good enough and all that stuff. I just, because I wasn't in the center anymore. I tried not to be in the center and be just thinking about myself all the time. And once I'd put it all being about me to the side and actually started giving a shit about more and started trying to help people and stop being a prick. Me and whether I'm good enough or not kind of went out the window. You know what I mean? If I start feeling insecure or whatever, I just think, well, you're thinking about yourself, aren't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stop thinking about yourself.
it was, you know, I had a decade-long panic attack. You know, that was my life. It was a decade-long panic. As soon as I, you know, if I didn't have enough poison in me, my body went into panic. And it's just so nice, you know, it brings you peace, doesn't it? That, you know, in recovery, it's just peace. I mean, look at you now. You know, we're chatting away and we have peace. Even when the world's throwing shit at us, you know, there's still that sort of peace.
I had to, I mean, I didn't really start getting peace until I started helping other people. Because first thing was like, all right, so 2013, I cut everything off and I just kind of ran away. And then I went away for a year, didn't think anything of it, wasn't grateful, still drinking a bit, went back to the UK, fucking nightmare. Completely just made an absolute job of it, went away again, and then started getting really anxious, kept drinking a bit, but, you know, no drugs and that really. Went back on holiday for a month, went to Boomtown. Oh my God, just what a mess. Like within 3 weeks, I'd hit rock bottom. And I felt suicidal after 3 weeks in England, left again. And I was like, what is this all about? And then I actually was like, right, I'm not going to drink or do drugs now at all. And I had 8 months and I felt great. But then I got really focused on me and my trip. You know, I was like thinking about earning money and going on holiday, and I was just constantly self-focused and all this stuff. And I felt and then I got the most anxious. It was so bad. I started binge eating, started having to make myself sick and stuff like that. And I was just like, what's going on here, mate? Like, come on.
We're, you know, us as addicts, you know, it's all connected, isn't it? We're fucking mental, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? It's
just full on. And then I just, my mates like trying to go to a yoga and meditation retreat, and I'm like, fuck it, why not? You know what I mean? Like, I got what can I lose? And I went along to that thing, and they basically just told me I was a selfish prick, and that was my problem. And then after that, started helping people, and then I got peaceful. Then it was good after that.
It was interesting what you're saying about, you know, because this is what happens with, you know, alcoholics and stuff. How, you know, you were sober for 8 months, and then, you know, you never. If you know, when you go back to drinking or whatever, you know, your addiction never begins again from the start. You know, you always, and that's the nature of this progressive illness. You know, not only do you return to your addiction where you left off, you actually return to your addiction in an advanced state as if you'd never stopped drinking in the first place. It's just that's the nature of alcoholism. Not so much, not with say heroin addiction or opiate addiction, blah blah. But with alcoholism specifically, out of all the drugs, it's strange. It's just weird. It's like your body kind of tells you to make up for lost time.
I'd say it was actually worse once I kind of went back into it, because then you've got the knowledge of what it's like to be sober and the frustration of being back in it and the frustration of how quickly you've fallen there, and then you're just like, I know this is really shit now. I'm not the mask of illusion's not really there. I'm just sat in this shit, and I know how peaceful it was before I did this, and I fucked it. I remember when I was living in Brisbane, and you can get ket in Australia and New Zealand. I did it a few times. I remember I'd moved into it with this geezer, and he was like an artist, and he skateboarded and like listened to good music, and we just had this real chill. We had like a jungle in this living room thing. And it was like you can imagine what this place looked like. It was fucking cool. This place was like this vibe we had going on. And then I was just like, went to there was this party on, and I knew I shouldn't go. I was like, it's a drug party, and there was this girl there, and I was like, I'll just go anyway. And went there, and obviously there was did some ket, and then that was it. My peacefulness had just gone. Just gone. And then next weekend I went out and did it again. Brought a heroin addict home. But I met out, he was on the street, and I was like, I do want to stay somewhere for the night, drugged out my head, and sniffed ket with him. And then woke up in the morning, and there's a smackhead in my bedroom, and I was like, oh my God, my housemate is not gonna like this one. It just was a fucking nightmare. He ended up kicking me out, and it's just and that's one of the good things about AA and NA is they give you all these little catchphrases, don't they? Like, one's too many, a thousand's never enough. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, like when you were saying, like, when we're going to relapse, like, we know we're going to relapse. When you're going to go, you kind of know, even if you tell yourself you're not, you kind of, when you went to that party, you probably knew you were going to relapse, like on a subconscious level. And that's why it's important to have these friends in AA or NA or whatever, just, to make that call, to have that support network just before, the moment, I relapsed so many times before I got sober, and the signs are there. And that's why it's good to have a support network, just to make that call and say, right, I can feel it. And, it's very good to have someone there just to put you back on track, Well,
I'll tell you the truth, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's like the denial, and you lie to yourself, and I'll be all right, and thinking that you're stronger than you are, or thinking you can moderate, or thinking, I mean, that's the thing, like, because the mind's like an echo chamber, you put one of those anythings in it, and like the echo, the days after that are so loud, you know what I mean? It's like the day after it still echoes a boom, 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 and it's like more. It does take a year for that to die down again. Yeah. It's like for a year, you're like, you know what I mean? It's there, and it's flashing at you, and it's just like, get me, you know what I mean? And it's just like, if you do it ain't once, it's a year of disturbance.
It's fun. Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I've actually been on an opiate addiction program for the last sort of 14 months. So I injured my back in 2008, and I've been taking cocodamol and blah blah. My back's fucked. Do you know what I mean? And I was always able to come off of the painkillers myself. When the injury went, do you know what I mean? And opiate addiction's fucking horrible. Do you know what I mean? And I've had as a separate addiction. Prescription pill addiction's crap. But the last time after becoming a dad, I really struggled to come off. I had surgery on my knee, and I really struggled coming off of the painkillers, and I've actually been in this program for the last year, and I'm on Subutex. Like every day I take a little pill in the morning and stuff like that. But it's been brilliant, and I wish years ago that I'd gone for professional help, for prescription drug addiction rather than doing it myself, because this time round, you know, I've had it. I've been on the correct medication to do it, and blah blah blah. And it's been a piece of piss. Do you know what I mean? But we're, just drums in the fact, I am an addict. You cannot take any mind altering substances, however, innocent they may be. For example, I have this chronic back injury. Do you know what I mean? Through bricklaying and stuff like that. But which has forced me in the past to take cocodamol or tramadol, which I've been prescribed and stuff. But I actually, in 2017, I actually gave up. I had to quit the tools purely because I couldn't continue with this cycle of inch my back, get on the pills, come off the pills through a painful fucking opiate cold turkey, So that was that was quite a big thing for me to stop work because of, pill addiction and stuff, and putting my sort of recovery first again. But yeah, it's always with us. Addiction will always attempt, will always be there, So it's just something we've always got to be careful, right? And
scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Right. And, I mean, we're a nation of alcoholics, but we're also a nation of opiate addicts. I find that's hilarious how you can actually buy cocodamol over the counter at Boots, and actually in the drug rehab I'm in now, when I first started there, I expected to be in a room full of heroin addicts, and I weren't. They were all people hooked on Solpadeine and Nurofen Plus.
Well, this is what's killing my mates as well. Like, it's all these opiate things. Like, we've had 3 in the past 2 years. It's been, I think, Xanax and morphine have been the culprits.
Yeah,
and I know in the States it's unbelievable. Like fentanyl, I think it is this big thing.
Yeah,
with opiate-based one, and I've looked it up the other day, and I was just like, so what's it all about? And it's like 100 times stronger than morphine, and I'm just like, what the fuck is that for? Like, what's the point in that? Like, of course it's going to kill everyone,
Yeah, it's a prescription painkillers have been that's been a battle for me. Obviously not like the old days of alcoholism, but prescription painkiller addiction is such a pain in the arse, because obviously you're taking these. But what's happy is I'm really happy in the knowledge that I remember I used to feel quite guilty about taking these pills, because obviously being an addict, I can't take anything without getting mentally hooked on them. Do you know what I mean? But with prescription painkillers, it's actually it's the physical addiction. It's heroin, isn't it? But I'm really quite pleased because in the last year when I've been on, the program, and I'm on Subutex, and it's great. I haven't even thought of taking a pill, and it made me realise that all those years when I felt guilty about taking prescription painkillers, I'm happy now. It wasn't for recreation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, which is nice. So that's cool. But yeah, anyone in recovery, like, be careful of the painkillers.
It's bound to happen at some point in life where you need some painkillers, and I love stuff like that. I love it. Yeah. I mean, those sort of downery things. I'm just worried about those kind of injuries. Another thing, when you was talking about before about when I was going to that party, and you said, you knew kind of in the back of your head, and that was something that I realised that the strength and decision-making skills that an addict needs to have is knowing when to say no, and the no that I needed to make was going to that party. It won't get in there and say no to the drugs. It was like, don't go to that party. Do you know what I mean? That was what the decision I needed to make. One of the things that that I think that's really valuable, but most of my mates, we're from the rave scene, which is a heavy music orientated thing, and obviously the punk scene as well. Everyone's completely mad about music, mad about that whole, that's their that's life for them. So, and it was for me as well. How do you manage being in the music scene and manage your addiction?
So, I mean, there's a reason why every single gig I'm behind the merch table. do you know what I mean? If I go to a gig now, you know, I will not be there hanging out for the whole night. If there's a band I want to see, I'll go to that gig. I'll stay for that band, and I'm gone afterwards. You know, just because it is hard. But I mean, with Wonk Unit touring and stuff, obviously, you know, I manage the band. I'm in charge and stuff like that. But you know, I'm behind the merch counter for a reason. It's a job. You know, so because I'm doing a job. That's what, you know, that's how I handle it. You know, I mean, if I wasn't behind the merch, you know, I probably wouldn't be in the venue, you know, because why would I surround myself with people off their tits? You know what I mean? I love people, and I love and Wonk, we have such a lovely fan base and family. Everyone is just, I'm really, honestly, I love our Wonk family. I've always been, it's a very open group. You know, we're not cool. We're just open. Anything goes. We're just happy. I'm just glad to be doing what we're doing. And so we've got good people around me, but, you know, I'm doing the merch for a reason. So, you know, anyone new in recovery who are in the music scene, you know, you recovery first. So, you know, if you're feeling uncomfortable being in that situation, then just get yourself out. That's the thing. You know, don't put yourself through unnecessary trauma. You know, don't feel guilty. I mean, in my early years when I was in recovery, you know, and I started tentatively going to shows again and doing social things, you know, I would go and I would only stay half an hour, or I would have a drink, a Coca-Cola, a bottle of water, and I'd watch a band, and I would go home. And I got so much enjoyment. You know, it was just going and doing those things. But, you know, you don't need to go in for the long run and do 4 hours in the pub, because why would you put yourself through that bullshit? But you can still go out and have fun. You can see your mates, you know, briefly before they end up boring you to tears and repeating themselves. You know what I mean? But just be responsible, you know, go out, still go and see bands. But, you know, you don't have to watch all those bands. Go and see the band you want to see. Don't put yourself, you know, don't feel like you have to stay, even with parties and everything. You know, go to a party. There's nothing wrong in just doing 20 minutes at a party. For me, you know, just showing your face is nice, you know. And, you know, going out in itself, you know, getting dressed up, going out, you know, you still go out, but don't suffer a night of inane, drunken boredom. You know, Go in, show your face, see the band, get out and stuff. And, you know, as a musician, you know, if you're in recovery, you know, and you're on the road doing merch, doing a job, you know, I quite often at festivals and stuff like that, you know, if I'm at a festival, I'll quite often find myself running the stage, you know, doing the sound. I will give myself, I will volunteer for jobs. You know, if I'm doing a job, then that's, you know, then it's a different thing. You're doing a job, you know, and that always helps. So it's always about being proactive, isn't it? Really, just you know,
Boredom's dangerous. Boredom's
very,
dangerous.
very, very, very dangerous.
Live purposefully.
Yeah, man.
All right, I know you haven't got much battery left on there. I mean, I think we're doing well. But I think we'll wrap it up there just in case it dies and I get to sign you off and just.
I hope we've done all right. Like,
I reckon we've done well, mate.
Cool. And I hope, like, you know, I'm tired. I've actually been, you know, talking about mental health and stuff. I've had an absolutely horrendous 18 months, I've had a lot of family issues and stuff like that. And my mental health has been bad. You know, I'm actually on pills nowadays. I'm officially mental.
Yeah.
But it's it's all right. It's all right. It's good. I'm mad. I'm allowed to talk on mental health shows these days because I'm officially crazy.
Well, as I say, I heard you on Tim's show, and I was called to actually go further and get you on the show. So you're still there, Alex. The video's gone. Oh, it's all good. We've had a few issues here, but it's all right.
Bastards are trying to phone me.
Yeah, all good.
Fools.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Alex, mate. I really appreciate it. And I think what you've had to say is really valuable, especially for, dealing with the music industry side of it. And it's, it's heroic gigging and that, after you've been through an addiction.
Yeah. It's the best life, though. It's the best life, isn't it? You create, and, I've turned my problems of addiction into art, haven't I? I write about addiction and stuff. And that's always been a little bit of my AA in itself, It's almost like doing a gig is almost like group therapy. My song, I write about shit that is my life, So in a way, my sharing through music is sharing through AA and stuff. It's my AA. So a Wonk gig is my AA,
Yeah. I reckon an album I really like for, that you really get the essence of, the struggles and talking about the really real things is Terror on the album.
Yeah.
And it was like Christmas in the Crack House. And I was listening to that song and I was just thinking, I can feel where you're at, and I can remember what it's like on Christmas Day when you're just in that state and you're fucked and your family is just like, what the fuck are you all about, and it's like,
yeah. I think I love that song. I think Christmas in the Crack House.
I like it.
Can you leave the door open, James? Sorry, mate. Yeah, I think that song is just nice. That and the whole of Terror. I actually listened to Terror the other day. It's a really sad record. Like
that's probably why I like it.
Yeah, you wait for Uncle Daddy, the new album. In fact, I'll send it to you after I've just finished the new album. That's a rager.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. The Uncle Daddy is heavy, mate. Like, do you play music on your podcast?
Can do. I reckon is the phone going to die? Is it going to be all right? We can stick a song at the end of this podcast. We can just chuck a song on.
Yeah, I'll send you an exclusive. You can have a world exclusive if you want.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. If anyone wants, check out Wonk Unit. Are you on everything? Aren't you pretty much on iTunes, Spotify?
Yeah. And you know what? The plan is actually maybe in 2022 is to get out your way.
Oh, really? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's that band Clowns from Melbourne, and I love Clowns, and we've been threatening to do an Australian over that way tour for a few years. I'd love to come out so we can hang out and have drink a root beer together, mate.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah. The music scene in Australia is a little bit odd. They do everything a little bit differently there, but in New Zealand they do. Melbourne's got a cool scene. In Brisbane, it's like the punk scene's really metally. It's a little bit like I just go in and I sort of I don't know if I can quite get into it, but in Melbourne's got some stuff going on. But in New Zealand, mate, they're pretty similar to us over here.
Yeah, man. Oh, it'd be good. Well, it'd be nice to see you, man. Is the plan? Oh, sorry, I've got people calling me again. Is the plan to stay? Is that it? Do you live now in New Zealand forever now? Ever coming back?
I'm studying to be a counsellor at the moment at uni, so it's like that's 5.
Oh, cool.
That's 5 years. Pretty much just started that, and it's a lot of work. I didn't quite expect it to be so much, but and then that's 3 years of that, then 2 years, and then going for the going to try and stay over here. I really like it here, so yeah.
Awesome, man. Brilliant.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of work to be done if I come back to the UK. I know that.
Yeah, you don't want to come back to UK.
I haven't seen it since all the political meltdown. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I want to, mate.
Yeah, dude, nationalism and bigotry has been normalised. It's disgusting. It really is. It's vile,
Yeah.
It's horrible. But I think that's a worldwide thing anyway these days, isn't it? So
I don't know. Maybe it's just a phase and it'll pass. Who knows? But
hopefully, when I'm Prime Minister, I'm going to fuck shit up,
It's always good for the punk scene, though. It really gets things going, doesn't it?
yeah, totally. All right, brother.
All right, mate. Thanks so much. Please check out Alex on Wonk Unit on all the stuff. We've got some great music. Muffy's a great album. It's got some real knees up stuff on that one. Quite like that one. But thanks so much, Alex, mate.
James, I love you, brother. Really good chatting.
You too, mate. Really good to meet you.
All right, dude.
Tell you now, she's amazing, it sounds crazy, but we